Veritas Global Ürün Direktörü Abrar Hussain.
Good morning, everybody. So this is also not my first time in Turkey. I have been to Turkey before. Previously, when I was here, it was for vacation. This time, it's for work. Both equally very, very enjoyable. So I have not picked up enough Turkish to deliver my data protection strategy in Turkish. So today we'll stick to English, but I do know a few words. I think when Ürün was opening up the session this morning, she talked about the meaning of Veritas. It is very clear the meaning of Veritas is truth. So in talking about the Vision Solution Days, we are doing these events globally. And I had the unique opportunity to do the first Vision Solution Day event in New York. And when I was getting ready to go to that event, that morning I had a nice pin here that said Veritas. Then I was getting into the lobby where the event was happening, and this gentleman, he has nothing to do with data protection. He looks at my pin and he says, "Oh, wow, Veritas." And then he immediately says, "The truth." So it's very obvious the meaning of Veritas is truth. Today, I'm here to talk about the truth in data protection. Today, I'm here to talk about Veritas Net Backup. My name is Abrar Hussain, and I have been with Veritas for 14 plus years. I've had various roles in the company. I've been an engineer for quite some time. I have led engineering teams, and for the last 5 years, I have been leading data protection products from a strategy and product management point of view. So let's dig right into it, and let's talk about data protection. So before we look into data protection, let's just quickly talk about some of the complexities that we see with data protection today. In talking to a lot of customers, it is very obvious that many organizations use more than one data protection solution. On an average, there are 4 backup flavors per organization. I mean, think about this. You have 4 backup solutions, different workflows, different ways to manage these data protection solutions, different licensing paradigms. It is very, very complicated. So that's what's going on today, right? And then if you look at it, from a workloads point of view, we still have SAP applications, we still have on-premises storage, Microsoft SQL Server is still there, Oracle is still there, virtualization, VMware, Hyper-V has become very, very prominent in the data center, but there is an emerging trend of big data applications, open source applications. And what's happening is organizations are not only wanting to protect these applications, but they're also looking to move these applications to the cloud. So that's where AWS, Azure, Google, IBM are playing a big role. And as we're moving these applications to the cloud, protecting these applications, managing these applications, there is a new set of users that have manifested. I mean, users that we didn't think about before. It is no longer just about enabling backup administrators. A lot of the employees of an organization that are dealing with data protection are now becoming generalists. So it is very critical for data protection products to enable other roles beyond backup administration. So we're looking at workload administrators, we're looking at security admins. So a lot of the new roles have emerged, and that's how things are today, really. And then if you look at the future, data is only bound to grow. By 2025, we're looking at 163 zettabytes of data that is going to be created. And guess what? This is both structured and unstructured data, but it is also mission critical. It needs to be protected. If you don't protect the data, we're looking at an average downtime of $400,000 per hour. So that's a lot of money. So while data protection is simple, there's a lot of complexities to be able to do it the right way. So today we're going to talk about some of the things that Veritas has done to solve some of these complexities. All right, so when we talk about data protection, and when you think of a modern data protection solution, there are 3 very specific values that we think a modern data protection solution should deliver on. Operational simplicity. Simplify everything, make it easy so with minimum training, anybody can use the solution, any generalist can use the solution. Then being able to support broad workloads, not only just the on-premises applications, but applications in the cloud, open source applications, big data applications, essentially be able to protect next generation of workloads. And then, to top it off, provide intelligent data insights so you can drive efficiency and make meaningful decisions to save cost for the organizations. So what we're going to do today is, for the remainder of the session, we're going to deep dive into each of these sessions and talk about how Veritas NetBackup delivers a modern data protection solution for these values. So if you have not looked at the new release of NetBackup, Veritas 8.12, released back in September, it has a lot of new value. With 8.12, the best data protection solution just got better. You know, Mark talked about how we have been leading the Magic Quadrant from Gartner for the last 15 plus years. We are the #1 in the market share of data protection. Now, by adding simplicity on the top of that, adding broad workload support, and adding intelligent data insights, we have made the best backup solution, best data protection solution, even better. So let's dig right into it. So I'm going to make today's session a little bit more interactive. So I'm hoping to use some live polling. I know a lot of you guys have mobile phones. So please take out your mobile phones. We're going to be doing a little bit of a Q&A as we go through the sessions. So there are a couple of ways in which you can get to the live poll. The fastest and the easiest way is to go to pollev.com/netbackup. As I post questions, you will see the questions on your mobile phones. You can also text NetBackup to that number. This should be a number that should be accessible to you in Turkey, so you can start joining the live polling activity. If you're looking for an internet connection, you can go to Wi-Fi. The username is Fairmont, and the password is Veritas 2018. So we can start doing live polling. So I generally like to kick this off with a simple icebreaker, a simple question. I'm in Istanbul, it's Turkey. So I thought, well, Istanbul is a major city in Turkey that straddles across Europe and Asia. So I just want to know which continent you're based in. A lot of the attendees from Europe. Very cool. Thank you so much for that, guys. So the application is working. The application is working fine. So we're going to do a lot more questions as we go through the sessions. So welcome both from the Europe side and the Asia side. It's amazing to be in Istanbul. All right, so let's get right into it. So we'll talk about the first value. We talked about operational simplicity, right? So let's dig into what Veritas can do in the context of operational simplicity. So #1, starting with 8.12 release of NetBackup, we're introducing the brand new user interface for NetBackup. This is not just a simple UI. This is something that we, the product team, have built in collaboration with customers like yourself. We have spent days and months working with backup administrators, VMware administrators, workload administrators, trying to figure out what do they do on their day-to-day activities and what we can do to simplify their workflows and deliver value in 3 clicks. The new web UI of NetBackup is designed around workloads. We are targeting VMware and cloud workloads with the 8.12 release of NetBackup. I'm sure a lot of you are still using the Java UI, and that is fine, because we're not end-of-lifing the Java UI right now. We're transitioning to the new web UI. All of the functionality you do in the Java UI is still 100% supported and fully maintained. But you now have a unique opportunity to start learning about the new UI, start enabling your VMware administrators to start using NetBackup, start delegating responsibilities to them, because the new web UI is designed to deliver value in 3 clicks for workload administrators, starting with VMware admins. What else can you do? Well, it's got automatic discovery of assets, automatic protection of assets, so you don't have to lose your sleep overnight trying to understand, is your company's data fully protected? We can take care of that for you because we have automatic discovery and automatic protection. And most importantly, you can manage NetBackup from anywhere. I'm not just talking about mobile devices. Yes, you can do that on your mobile phone, but I'm talking about being able to manage NetBackup remotely but securely. That is the new web UI for NetBackup, already generally available. So if you have not seen it, please check it out. What else is out there? In the new web UI of NetBackup, we are now going to be able to provide real-time usage reporting information. So if you're using capacity usages and you want to have a clear understanding of how much capacity you're using when you're protecting data, and you want that broken down workload by workload, and you want that across your master server environments, we are now going to be able to show that to you accurately front and center of your dashboard. So you have a unique opportunity to see how your data is being protected, what quantity of data across what workloads. This will help you, give you a unique insight so you can plan for the future. You can spot trends. If a workload is growing, you can spot that. If your workload is declining, you can spot that as well. So you now have real-time usage reporting starting with NetBackup. Now, I previously talked about empowering some of the new users that are interfacing with data protection. 8.12 is a release of NetBackup that is designed to deliver that. So starting with NetBackup administrators, yes, they are still responsible for data protection and recovery, monitoring and discovery. They are the key administrators of the product, but now they have the ability to delegate responsibilities to a security admin. So a security admin can go and manage who gets to access the product, what kind of certificates are necessary for the product. And then a backup administrator can delegate a responsibility to a workload administrator, like a VMware admin. So he or she can start protecting their own workloads, do discovery, and assign protection for those workloads. So the product comes with 3 custom roles: the NetBackup administrator role, the security admin role, and the workload admin role. Now, if these roles are not sufficient, there's also an ability to create a custom role. Let's say you want to empower an end user to do his or her single file recovery, granular recovery. You can now do that with NetBackup. So recovery as needed, full or incremental, or if you want to do something for DevOps. So a custom role is also possible. So we are now able to empower all the new users that interface with data protection. What else is possible? What else have we done to simplify NetBackup? So starting with the 8.1.1 release of NetBackup, we have adopted an API-first mindset, meaning all the new features and functionalities that we deliver in NetBackup have the front-facing APIs. And you may be wondering, why do I need APIs? Well, APIs are critical from an automation point of view, from an integration point of view. A lot of the large organizations and service providers are looking to automate because they want to do more with less. They want to simplify things. They want to integrate data protection into the tools that they already use in their environment. With the APIs that we deliver with NetBackup, you can accomplish exactly that. Starting with building your own custom dashboards to deliver, to display recovery points, to display any activity monitor status. You can do that with APIs now. You have a way to automate NetBackup policy management. You can manage backup schedules. You can manage clients automatically. Everything that you do with CLIs will now be possible with APIs for NetBackup. If you're using VMware, you can actually build your own VMware recovery portal and empower an end user or a VMware admin to do VMware recoveries. And most importantly, our product now has the ability to do notifications and generate tickets, so important information can automatically surface into the tools that you use in the organization already. One of the most common ticketing tools is ServiceNow. And if ServiceNow is used extensively in your organization, NetBackup has strong integration with it. So as things progress in the environment, let's say there's a notification or a failure, and you want that to surface in ServiceNow, it is possible with NetBackup. So there's a lot of automation and integration possibilities that you can do with NetBackup now. Let's talk about simplification a little bit more, but in the context of deployment. How quickly and how easily can you deploy NetBackup? With NetBackup Flex Appliance and its flexible infrastructure, you can essentially deploy NetBackup in 4 steps. And when you're talking about how long does it take, a NetBackup master server can be deployed in less than 15 minutes. A NetBackup media server can be deployed in less than 5 minutes. And then using the Flex architecture, you can deploy multiple NetBackup versions in the containers that we offer with NetBackup Flex appliance. You can actually deploy NetBackup Cloud Catalyst, right? We talked about cloud so much. Mark talked about sending backup data to the cloud, but the key thing there is to send that backup data effectively and efficiently, as fast as possible. So we are using the least amount of storage in the cloud. We're using the least amount of network bandwidth. And the best way to do that is by using NetBackup Cloud Catalyst. It is the industry-leading and the most fastest way to send backup data to the cloud. In the testing that we have done internally, we have found our solution to be 3 times faster than some of the leading competitors. And most importantly, when we are sending backup data to the cloud, when you are ready to adopt the cloud, we've got 40+ cloud connectors that we certify, right? So now you have the Flex appliance, easy to deploy NetBackup in 15 minutes for masters, 5 minutes for media servers. You can deploy Cloud Catalyst on it and send backup data to the cloud 3 times faster, and you have 40+ cloud connectors to work with. That's amazing from a deployment point of view. Okay, so that is operational simplicity. We have made NetBackup easy to operate. We have a brand new user experience for NetBackup. We have APIs for NetBackup, and deployment has become significantly simple. So operational simplicity, done. Now let's talk about the next attribute, which is the broad workload support. What are we doing to protect next generation of workloads? So let's dig right into it. So, when I show this slide and ask the audience, raise your hands if you protect more than 2 workloads that I'm showing here. If you're protecting more than 2 workloads, please raise your hand. If you're protecting more than 3 workloads, please raise your hand. The thing is, there are so many workloads out there, and we are essentially wanting to protect all of them. But here is the challenge. We end up using multiple data protection solutions or different point solutions to protect these workloads. And I'm here to tell you that you do not have to look around for point solutions, because you have one solution, the most important solution, that can protect all of these workloads. So let's talk about some of these workloads, and let's talk about how NetBackup protects them. I'm going to start with virtualization, and in particular, we'll talk about VMware. I will discuss Hyper-V as well, but we'll have VMware guide the direction here. So let's discuss VMware. What are some of the top challenges when it comes to protecting virtual environments and empowering VMware administrators? Well, number one, there's a lack of independence for VM admins. VM admins are heavily dependent on backup admins. And that dependency is okay, but there needs to be some automation and enablement around that. So we'll talk about what have we done there. Need for faster backups. Data is only growing, but the backup windows are not going. They're in fact shrinking. So we need to be able to complete backups at a lot faster rate. There's a complexity when it comes to protecting virtual environments. So let's talk about what that challenge is and how we can help. And then lack of integration with VMware, right? You don't want to use a solution that is not 100% integrated with VMware. So we can discuss that as well. So need for faster backups. What I'm showing right now is not any new technology. It has been out there for 10 years. It is called NetBackup Accelerator. It is the solution that you can use to solve your missed backup Windows problems. If you want to do backups fast, this is the way to do it. In the test cases that we have run, we have seen 100 times faster backups. You may be wondering, how does that happen? How does that work? Well, it's pretty simple. We're going to talk about 3 steps and really understand how NetBackup Accelerator works. Number one, it works for both VMware and Hyper-V. And it works by automatically identifying change blocks. What has changed on your primary storage when it comes to the applications that are used on VMware and Hyper-V? So we actively work with both VMware and Hyper-V to understand what blocks of data have changed. So that's number one. Number two, when it comes to moving the data from the primary storage to backup storage, we are uniquely positioned to not only just move the change blocks, but within the change blocks, we have the ability to identify which one of these blocks are deleted blocks or unused blocks. So we can very, very optimally and very quickly move the data from primary to backup storage. And then when it comes to the backup storage, we are able to synthesize your backup to just make it look like a full backup, which means you did not have to move full data, you only have to move the change blocks, but you have all the benefits of a full backup. You can recover the entire virtual machine, you can recover applications on that virtual machine, you can recover files and folders on that virtual machine, right? No loss of recovery functionality. So this is simplification when it comes to doing VMware backups or Hyper-V backups as fast as possible. Now, this is the backup portion, and you might be wondering, well, what's happening with recovery? So let's talk about recovery. Introducing NetBackup Instant Access for VMware. Now, when it comes to recovery, we have completely changed the paradigm here. You know, people do recovery because they want to access data. So that is the key thing, right? So with instant access, you have exactly that. You have instant access to virtual machine data. The entire virtual machine is available to you, or a single file on that virtual machine is available to you. And here is the best part. To get instant access to the entire virtual machine, or even a single file, you do not need any agents installed on the virtual machines. If you're using NetBackup appliances, if you're using NetBackup 312 software for appliances, there is absolutely zero need to put any agent on your VMware environment. So you can go completely agentless and still have a full VM recovery or a single file recovery functionality available to you. There is more, right? As a backup admin, you do not have to do this. This instant access works with role-based access control. So you can delegate instant access responsibilities to your VMware admins or to an end user and empower them to do instant access, empower them to do single file recoveries. From a recovery point of view, we can recover back to an original location, we can take it to an alternate location, or we have the ability to enable users to download the files on their via their browser itself. So a lot of functionalities when it comes to instant access. So fast backup, instant access, simplification of user experience to empower VMware administrators. All of that is possible with NetBackup. The next thing we want to talk about is certifications and tight integration with VMware. You know, VMware vSAN is a very, very powerful technology. You know, it enables you to use shared storage, but still has the same VMware infrastructure. So very happy to announce that Veritas NetBackup is VMware vSAN certified and ready. We partnered very closely with VMware to deliver this certification. In fact, VMware was not ready to launch vSAN without NetBackup having the right certification for it. So very happy to announce that certification. Now, when it comes to VMware vSAN, obviously you can backup and recover virtual machines deployed on your vSAN data stores. Then number two, you can do file and folder recovery for the virtual machines without having to install any agents for recovery. And number three, it can work with hot add transport mode. It can also work with network transport mode. All of these possibilities are there with the certification from VMware for vSAN ready. Now, being vSAN ready and vSAN certified is a prerequisite to actually being able to protect VMware environment when it's deployed in the cloud. So VMware Cloud on AWS or VMC is a way to deploy vSphere in Amazon Web Services and start leveraging the AWS capabilities with VMware. And very happy to announce that NetBackup is also certified to protect VMware and vSphere in AWS environments. So you can deploy both VMware and NetBackup in AWS and start leveraging AWS S3 from a storage point of view. You can use the Elastic Network to send backup data to S3. So both the certifications are available. Now, to sum it up, right, we have simplified the lack of independence for VMware admins by giving them empowerment and delegating backup and recovery responsibilities to them. So that's number one. We have solved the need for faster backups by providing NetBackup Accelerator, We have simplified the complexity of protecting virtual environments by going agentless, by providing automatic discovery, and by providing instant access. And then we have tight integration with VMware with vSAN certification and VMware Cloud certification. I think that's a lot of stuff in the context of VMware. Now, to sum it all up, right, we partner with VMware very, very closely. It's 11 years of partnership. I have been talking to VMware since my engineering time frame. So it's been a long time, close collaboration with VMware, building solutions, being able to provide day zero support for new updates for VMware. vSAN and VMC certification, we just talked about that. Only solution that can scale from hundreds to thousands of virtual machines. If you have not done this recently, I highly recommend that go to Google and type King of Scale. You will see that Veritas NetBackup is the first result of that search. And if you click on that document, we will tell you exactly why NetBackup is the king of scale and how does it compare to all the other backup solutions out there when it comes to protecting VMware environments. I think it's a huge benefit to look at. It's a very, very powerful tool. And then you have instant access to your virtual machine data, and we are now able to deliver value in 3 clicks for some of the key workflows that are used in VMware. So that sums up what we can do for VMware. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the other hypervisors, right? So let's get back on your mobile phones again. We're going to do a quick live polling. What I'm interested to understand here is what hypervisors or other open source platforms do you use in your data center today? So if you can please respond, that'll be good. So we've got VMware, Hyper-V, there is Nutanix Acropolis hypervisor, there is Red Hat KVM as an hypervisor. Then when it comes to containers and OpenStack, I'm mostly referring to these as platforms. Obviously, VMware is winning the charts. I'm not surprised. Hyper-V is right behind. That's good to know. And by the way, you can do multiple responses here. So if you're using multiple of these hypervisors, which is pretty common, you can submit your response again. Cool. So I've got about 100 plus responses. The poll is now full. VMware is obviously leading the chart. Nutanix Acropolis right behind. That's good to know because I've got good news for Nutanix. Hyper-V is there. There's KVM and OpenStack. Great. You will be happy to know that we've got something going on for each of these hypervisors. So I will talk about Nutanix Acropolis today. I have some good news on Red Hat KVM. Please talk to me offline about that. And I will share a little bit about containers as well. Awesome. Thank you for your responses, guys. It means a lot. OK, so let's get into cloud workloads. We'll talk about big data and Nutanix as well. But let's touch briefly on cloud workloads first. OK, so when we talk to CIOs, the top thing on their mind is cloud. Multi-cloud, it is here to stay, right? There's obviously a bit of a lag in when organizations and countries adopt cloud, but the cloud is not going away, right? Organizations, on an average, 56% are looking at a cloud-first mindset, right? They have a cloud-first mindset. And then, organizations already are considering more than one cloud provider. On an average, there are 3 to 4 cloud providers that are being considered by organizations. So it is very, very important to have a data protection solution that not only supports the multi-cloud, but also brings a lot of consistency across these various cloud providers that are in the picture. So what are the challenges when it comes to cloud infrastructure? Number one is cost. There is no such thing as free lunches in the context of cloud. It is very expensive to send the data to the cloud, store data to the cloud, and it is even more expensive to retrieve data from the cloud. So you need a very, very cost-effective solution. And then there's a complexity of managing data protection across physical, virtual, and cloud. You do not want to use a lot of point solutions. A unique solution is essential and necessary. And then there's multiple clouds out there, right? So workflow consistency management is a challenge. So let's talk about how Veritas is addressing all of these challenges one at a time. We'll start with the cost. We briefly touched on this, right? How can Veritas help reduce the cost of sending data to the cloud? Well, we talked about Veritas Cloud Catalyst, 3 times better performance than the leading competitors when it comes to sending backup data to the cloud. Now, why is it fast? Well, the key thing is we are sending deduplicated data to the cloud, but when we are sending deduplicated data to the cloud, we do not have to rehydrate the data. We can essentially use the same deduplication technology that we use on premises. We can use the same technology for the cloud. That means zero rehydration for us, and we can very effectively and very fast send backup data to the cloud. We can significantly reduce the network bandwidth that is used for sending backup data to the cloud as well. So you have an optimized way of sending backup data to the cloud. Now, when it comes to retrieving data from the cloud, it is also very, very optimized. NetBackup Cloud Catalyst essentially maintains its own cache, right? Now, let's say you have a restore request. The first thing we do is we look into NetBackup Cloud Catalyst cache to see if that data is already there. If the data is already on Cloud Catalyst, we don't have to go to the cloud, and therefore you don't have to pay any money for recovering data from cloud. So it's a win-win both from a sending data to the cloud perspective and retrieving data back from the cloud perspective. So that's from a cost point of view. Now let's talk about complexity of managing data protection across physical, virtual, and cloud. Well, I mentioned, right, you do not want to have 3 different solutions, one for physical, one for virtual, and one for cloud. You need one data protection solution, and that is Veritas NetBackup. So Veritas NetBackup is able to orchestrate not only snapshots for on-premises, for physical environments, but it can also orchestrate snapshots for cloud environments. So you can start protecting cloud workloads using Veritas NetBackup and making Veritas NetBackup as an orchestrator. Veritas NetBackup uses Veritas Cloud Point, which is essentially an agent of NetBackup that can be deployed in the cloud that will help NetBackup do the orchestration. NetBackup is still your driving interface. You're still using the brand new web UI of NetBackup, but NetBackup leverages CloudPoint, which is a native tool built for the cloud to orchestrate snapshots in the cloud and start protecting workloads in the cloud. So you can see that you have the same role-based access control, same NetBackup user interface, same orchestration across physical, virtual, and the cloud. One data protection solution for all of the 3 platforms. Now the last thing, multi-cloud. We talked about AWS, Google, Azure, IBM. There are so many providers out there. So you need a data protection solution that has the exact same workflow across these cloud providers. So you don't have to go and train new people on new workflows and new cloud providers. And that is what exactly we have delivered with 8.1.2 release of NetBackup. We integrate with AWS, Google, and Azure, and it is exactly the same interface, the same workflow. So there is no training needed for new people to do any of the new cloud workloads. We support all of them with a consistent workflow. Very simple to use, very easy to use. Cool. So these are some of the challenges we discussed, and we talked about how Veritas NetBackup solves for these challenges. So far, in the context of workloads, we have talked about VMware, we have talked about cloud workloads. The next thing I wanted to touch on is big data and hyperconverged environment. So let's get right into that one. So hyperconverged and big data workloads. Taking a quick look at the hyperconverged landscape, I mean, this market has actually surprised me. I'm pleasantly surprised by this market. It has a CAGR of 42%. So looking at a 17 billion market cap, that's what is expected to reach. And companies like Nutanix and VMware vSAN are the market leaders in the HCI space. Looking at the poll previously, I know a lot of you guys are interested in Nutanix Acropolis. We've got a unique data protection solution for it. I'll talk about exactly how we can protect Nutanix shortly. So there's the hyperconverged environment, and then there's the big data landscape. Big data is critical, guys, and big data, again, is here to stay. It is no longer just for analytics. It is mission critical. I mean, think about UPS. UPS is a very strong company that uses big data effectively, so they can send the packages as fast as possible and at the least cost possible. Think about Google Maps. You're getting turn-by-turn information, and that information is dynamic. It is adapting based on traffic. All of that is coming from big data. Think about all the largest stock companies. New York Stock Exchange, it uses big data. Big data, in every sense of the word, is mission critical, and it is important for you to protect big data, right? And you do not want to use point solutions for it. So this is the big data landscape back in 2012. In 2018, this landscape has changed significantly. There are so many use cases of big data. That goes to show that both structured and unstructured data in the context of this big data environment needs to be protected. So what are the challenges when it comes to hyperconverged environments and big data infrastructure? Number one, both hyperconverged environments like Nutanix AHV or big data environments, they come with their own replication solution. A replication solution or a snapshotting solution, it is not ideal for long-term retention. It does not have point-in-time backup, and therefore you cannot do point-in-time recovery. So that's one challenge. Number two, there's a lot of traditional ways to protect big data. There's a lot of traditional ways to protect Acropolis hypervisor. You need a state-of-the-art modern solution. So we'll talk about how Veritas NetBackup is solving for these two challenges. Number one, efficient data protection with NetBackup. So this is a sample environment of a big data solution. You can see we have a name node and a bunch of data nodes. And just like any other highly available solution, a big data keeps 3 copies of data blocks. 3 copies of data blocks. So that's a lot of storage, right? So when you're doing a backup of big data, you do not want to back up all those 3 blocks. But anyway, we have something called as NetBackup parallel streaming. With NetBackup parallel streaming, the data nodes can independently send the data to our backup proxies, so it can be stored within NetBackup. It's a very fast scale-out method of protecting big data applications. NetBackup parallel streaming is designed for Hadoop, is designed for HBase, Cloudera, Hortonworks, and it is also used for Nutanix Acropolis hypervisor. So we are able to uniquely protect all of these big data applications and hyperconverged environments in a scale-out modern data protection infrastructure. And here's the key thing about NetBackup parallel streaming. All the solutions that we deliver are delivered in a release-independent manner. So you don't have to have the latest release of NetBackup to start protecting these workloads. If you have NetBackup 8.1, you can start protecting these workloads. So we've got an efficient and a modern way to start protecting these workloads. So you do not need to just rely on built-in replication. With NetBackup, you have a point-in-time copy, so you can go back in time and recover that point-in-time copy. And you don't have a point backup. You have a unified data protection solution that is designed with modern data protection in mind. So those are the 2 things that we have done with Veritas NetBackup for hyperconverged environments and big data applications. Okay, so just to sum it all up, Veritas NetBackup has the broadest workload support, right? If you have a workload that you want us to protect, let us know, because we have the technology to be able to support those workloads at a much, much faster pace. Based on market demand, we can add support for new workloads in a very, very fast manner. So let us know. You know, when it comes to protecting big data, we can deliver 67% secondary storage cost savings, because remember, big data maintains 3 copies of data, but we only need to move 1 of that copy. So we are able to only move 1 of the copy and therefore deliver 67% in cost savings. And then when it comes to sending data to the cloud, we are 3 times faster, but we're also 3 times faster in protecting big data itself because of our dedupe capabilities. Efficient, on-demand, modern architecture. If there's a workload out there that needs to be protected, there is market demand for it, we have the architecture and the solution to deliver support for that workload efficiently using a modern architecture. Cool. So last polling of the day. I want to know which one of these following workloads do you use in your data center today? I mean, this will obviously help me decide some of the things we want to do in the future, but also validate some of the assumptions that we have already made. So obviously, I've got Hadoop, Cloudera, Hortonworks, Nutanix, Postgres, MySQL. All right, MySQL is winning the charts for sure. Here is the good news. Any workload that I'm showing on this slide here right now, NetBackup has a solution for it. For most of these workloads, we have a solution in general availability. The two exceptions are MongoDB and Cassandra. MongoDB and Cassandra are currently in beta. If you're using MongoDB and Cassandra and you wish to evaluate how NetBackup protects it, we have a solution for you. Talk to your account team, and we can give you that beta so you can evaluate the solution. But everything else, we have a solution in general availability. We have a plugin for MySQL, so you can effectively protect MySQL environment. We have, obviously, support for Nutanix using Parallel Streaming Framework. We have support for Hadoop and HBase, and we have support for Cloudera as well. So great, guys. Thank you so much for the feedback. It definitely validates a lot of the assumptions that we're doing. And we've got MongoDB and Cassandra in beta, like I said. So let us know, and we can provide that beta to you guys. I know there are a lot of other workloads that I have not mentioned, so I will be offline after this meeting. Talk to me about some of the other workloads that you're using, or talk to your account team about it. Okay, so we talked about operational simplicity, and we talked about broad workload support. We're coming to the end. We're going to talk about the third attribute, which is intelligent data insights, right? We have made it simple to protect the data. We've got the broad workload support. Now it's time to talk about intelligent data insights so you can drive efficiencies and improve accountability. Now, the key thing to be able to provide intelligent data insights is a rich set of data. You know, we protect more data than anybody else out there, and we have the catalog of data that is envy of everybody else. So to be able to do intelligent data insight, you need that catalog. You need that richness and information. So Veritas is constantly innovating in this area. We're doing a lot of things in the context of machine learning, improving the performance, doing data classification, automation, to be able to provide deep insights to you. So today I'm going to talk about a couple of examples in this area that we already have generally available. So first thing that we have already available today is insight into your usage growth. You want to understand how your data is being used in your environment, across your entire infrastructure, regardless of the number of domains you have. Veritas NetBackup can show you that insight into the usage growth. So you can start spotting trends. You can figure out which workload is growing, which workload is declining, and you can do it across your infrastructure. And then this will help you plan better for your future. This will give you the visibility that you're looking for to be compliant with your data protection needs. So you can make sure that you are buying the right data protection capacity. All of that is possible. Then the next thing that I want to talk about is next generation of reporting for Veritas NetBackup. So this is a bit of a forward-looking. This is something that we are planning for early next year, but we're actively working on the next generation of reporting for Veritas NetBackup. This is going to be built on the top of Veritas Ops Center. If you're already using Ops Center, you don't have to change anything. This platform sits on the top of Ops Center, and if you don't have Ops Center, that is fine too. It works either way. It comes with 24 canned reports, but most importantly, you can customize the reports you want. It is designed for service providers. It is designed for large enterprises. There's a nice segregation of tenants if you are a service provider. So the next generation of reporting based on insights and visibility will be available early next year with Veritas NetBackup. Now, there's a lot more. You might be wondering what else is going on. So we talked about these three things. I want to talk about some of the things that we have done recently, right? So this is the week of DockerCon, right? In Barcelona right now, a lot of my team members are attending DockerCon, and we're talking very effectively about containers, because guess what, guys? We have a generally available solution for NetBackup containers. NetBackup can protect your persistent data in your container environment. You can download a NetBackup client container from our website, or you can use NetBackup libraries and Docker libraries to build a container yourself. But basically, with a couple of steps, you can add a NetBackup client container to your container environment and start protecting applications running on containers. Here is the best part about the solution. It comes with all the bells and whistles NetBackup has, meaning you can use NetBackup Accelerator. We talked about the advantage of Accelerator. You can use NetBackup Accelerator with containers. It integrates effectively with NetBackup Catalog, so you have complete visibility of all the application data that you're protecting, and then there is zero loss of recovery functionality. You can do application-consistent backups. Now, here is the kicker when it comes to containers. Veritas NetBackup is the first certified data protection solution for containers. If you go to docker.com, you will see the certification. Veritas NetBackup is the first certified data protection solution. We are very proud of it, and we are talking about this very, very proudly at DockerCon, happening right now in Barcelona. Okay, so with that said, just to bring it all together, top 10 financial companies, top 10 commercial banks, top 10 telecom companies, they all trust Veritas with their data. Why is that, right? We have touched on this, but just to refresh, #1 market share, #1 leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for 15 plus years. We've got a customer base that is envy of everybody else. We've got decades of data protection experience. Now we have just simplified that with NetBackup 812 to make it easy for you to protect your environment and protect all the workloads that you can think of, and do it with intelligent data insights. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.